This is Justin Ruiz for Software Development Assignment 2. Here are the important ASCII codes that I've noted just for use later on. First of all, I have to initialize all my variables to 0 that I'm going to use. Then the code will grab the next two inputs from the scanner. Then this for loop here is for capturing all the decimal places that I need, as well as increment the decimal counter to find out how many decimals there are, and as well as note the position of the decimal in the string for use later on. Same thing here for the second input. After that, there's a switch case here for if there's 0 decimals found from this for loop here, then it will iterate through the string, find characters pertaining to the ASCII that point to numbers, and then it'll use this calculation here using powers based on the length of the input minus the iterator of the loop, and then times it by the value of the ASCII minus 48, because it starts at 48 and goes to 57. So 48 minus 48 would be 0, and then 49 minus 48 would be 1. And that will give me numbers that it will add on into int1. That'll be an actual integer value. Otherwise, if it finds something that's not a number, then it'll increase the decimal counter to 2, deeming it a string. So same thing here for the case 1 where it finds 1 decimal, deeming it a double. Does the same thing here, checks for numbers. The only difference here is that it will determine if the loop is before the position of the decimal, and that just changes the addition values by a factor of 1 in the iterator to account for the decimal place. So this is if it's before the decimal, and this is if it's after the decimal. So this way it'll multiply it by powers of 10 to the negative. Here we have to make a case scenario that the loop passes through the decimal, because we don't want it to automatically exit out of the case. Here, if it finds something that's not a number or a decimal, then we exit out of the case. Same thing with the second string, the exact same code, just the variable names have changed. And here we have some if-else statements that just provide us with logic for determining which method that we have to use here. So if it's an int and an int, it'll use the sum with 2 ints. If it's an int and a double, it'll use the sum with an int and a double, and so on and so forth. That one's a string and a string. This one's an int and a double. This one's a 2 doubles, and string again if it finds something that's not an int or a double. And then this one, if all else fails, then it is 2 strings by default. So now let's go ahead and just run some example tests to prove that the code works. So first we'll do 2 ints. Then we'll do an int and a double. Then we'll do 2 doubles. And then we'll do one with a string in it.